Yeah, I had to take a couple of days off because I was just exhausted after having to do all those DC movies in a row. And I got kind of burned out on DC, but I'm gonna get back into the swing of things of how things normally go in terms of like uploading and all that. So, because of that, the other day, I watched the new Dungeons and Dragons movie, Honor Among Thieves. I just gotta say right off the bat, I am not a D&D person. I don't know shit about Dungeons and Dragons. I know of it mainly because it has become such a pop culture staple over the past 20 or so years. At least that's what I think the range is. And honestly, even when the trailers were coming out for this, the trailers just didn't really hit for me. I love the cast in this. I think there's a lot of great actors at play here. I feel like this is like an untapped potential in movies because I know there have been a couple other movies, but they've been dog shit out of what I've heard. And just it's also on top of opening right in between John Wick Chapter 4 and the Mario movie, which just really took up a lot of my attention, so I didn't really get to it until just now. I also have to preface that with I didn't think this looked bad. I just think it wasn't really a big priority to me. And just now that I've watched it, man, it really should have been a priority. I loved this. I want to start off with the best part of the movie, in my opinion, and that's the cast and just how well. This is one of the best cast action movies I've seen in a while. We've got Chris Pine, Michelle Rodriguez, Justice Smith, Regé-Jean Page, and Sophia Lillis playing like the main group of thieves, quote unquote. And Chris Pine is the bard. He leads this group to try and get his daughter back from unknown assailant. Just not to spoil anything. And I think I've said this when I've talked about Chris Pine before. I really do like Chris Pine. He's got this certain quality in an actor where he can just pull off like a really good line reading almost every time. And I think this is a huge example of that and just how charismatic he can be as an actor. I also really liked Michelle Rodriguez in this. I know she's always in Fast and Furious, but in the other roles I've seen her in, she was in the first Avatar movie. I'm pretty sure she was in the movie Widows from a couple of years back. And now this, I am starting to really like her. Well, I liked her already, but I really think she should be getting more work. And just, I really enjoy her in these kind of movies. The other remaining cast of Justice Smith, Sophia Lillis, and Regé-Jean Page, particularly Justice Smith, I think they're all pretty good in this. I really think that they all bounced off of each other really well, and this is just a masterclass in how to have good chemistry in a fantasy movie like this. And just, I feel like this is says like a lot of the character moments in this are some of the best of the year so far. I think the action here is pretty good too, mainly because the visual effects here are just great. And there's also a lot of lore here, mainly because I think it's supposed to feel like an actual round of D&D where you're throwing out all these different spells and species and all these other things going on. And while I personally did not follow it, because again, I'm not a D&D person, I think it looks like that the writers did their research on this and it feels true to how it feels to play a D&D game. And I'll actually get to the writers now because they actually directed it too. It's John Francis Daley and Jonathan Goldstein. They've got a couple good movies under their belts when it comes to writing. I actually wrote down a couple here. They were the main writers of Spider-Man: Homecoming, which I think is a fantastic Spider-Man movie and also a movie in general, along with the comedy Game Night, which I think is really funny. And I didn't know this until I saw it last week, but they actually have story credit on The Flash, so they also had some writing to do with that. Yeah, I don't have much else to say about this. I figured I would have more, but this is just a damn good movie. Like you don't have the case of me being you don't have to be someone that knows Dungeons and Dragons. It's a tough thing to say. You don't have to know Dungeons and Dragons to watch this and enjoy it. And it had honestly, it had no right to go this hard. There's just there's a lot of it here just works, and I'm very happy about that. I have no idea if this is going to get a sequel or anything, because granted, it came out in between John Wick 4 and Mario, so it didn't make a bunch of money, and now I'm kind of sad it didn't make that much money, because I would love to see more of these characters and this world. I don't know if it's going to get me into D&D and playing D&D, but at least I'm open to it now. So yeah, Dungeons and Dragons: Honor Among Thieves is really fun. I think you'd like it if you gave it a shot. If you're a fan of, I guess what I'd have to say is the MCU comedy done well. Like if it's that style of comedy that you like, it's done really well, and it honestly kind of reminded me of, as I said earlier, Spider-Man: Homecoming, because those are the same writers of that. So if you are a fan of that vein of comedy action, give this a shot. I think it'll be right up your alley. I'm going to give this an 8 out of 10. I thought it was really fun, and I just think you would enjoy it. All right, my question for you today is simple. What did you see Dungeons and Dragons: Honor Among Thieves? If you have seen it, what did you think of it? Let me know in the comments below, like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you in the next video. See ya!